Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy and I'm your host for today's show. Liverpool start their Carabao Cup campaign tomorrow evening and it's not the easiest of ties as we'll be facing a Premier League team at this early stage of the competition, unlike some teams who are facing Watford and Barrow earlier this evening. Liverpool, on the other hand, will be facing West Ham at Anfield. In fact, last season, we actually faced West Ham in the quarterfinals, beating them 5-1 and went on to win the competition. So hopefully we can follow suit again this season and win our first trophy under Arne Slot. So let's have a look at both teams in terms of their league forms. Then I will present the team news to see who's available for this fixture and then predict the lineup. So let's begin with Liverpool. Liverpool have had a great start to the season, 4 wins and 1 defeat, and that defeat was against Nottingham Forest, which was an embarrassing one to say the least. But fair play to the Reds. They bounced back after beating AC Milan 3-1 at the San Siro, and then we defeated Bournemouth 3-0 over the weekend. So the team are back in form, but what's impressed me the most is how defensively sound we are. We've only conceded 1 goal in 5 games in the Premier League. That shows the improvement in the team already. And to top it off, we haven't lost our edge up top, as we've scored 10 goals in the league, only behind City and Chelsea, who have scored more than us. So the signs are good, in my opinion. Some fans still have doubts with regards to Arne Slot being the man to take the club forward. And to be fair, I have no issues with that. You know, it is very early days, so everyone is entitled to their opinion. But so far, I've been impressed with what he's brought to the table. And for me, it makes the season more intriguing under this new era. But for this fixture, I'm expecting a lot of rotation, which we'll discuss later in the predicted lineup segment. For West Ham, they actually started their Carabao Cup campaign a couple of weeks ago as they defeated Bournemouth 1-0 to secure their place in the third round. So a positive result for the Hammers, but the start to the Premier League season hasn't gone to plan and it has to be questioned. In 5 games, they've won once, drew once, and lost 3 times. That surprises me, as I thought they did a fantastic job with the additions that they made in the summer with the likes of Somerville. You've got Fulkrug. You have the young Brazilian winger in Guilherme. They've also signed Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United, Todibo, Max Kilman signing from Wolves, Carlos Sola, who they've got on loan from PSG, and they got a couple of free transfers in Gudio Rodriguez and Foderingham. So the players that I've named, a lot of them are skilled and very technical players who should elevate the club to the next level and possibly challenge for European places. But things haven't gone to plan as of yet, to be fair. Apologies, I thought my connection went there. The new coach, Lopetegui, seems to be a manager that's very defensive-minded, and his philosophy doesn't align with the profile of signings that were made in the summer. In fact, I read some sources earlier today suggesting that the West Ham sporting director was against the appointment of Julian Lopetegui, and still the club went ahead with that appointment. So that clearly shows that these signings were all made from the sporting director, and this could be the problem, as you need to have a coach that shares the same vision as the sporting director. Otherwise, things will fall apart, and that could happen for West Ham. This match might have a bit more weight and importance than usual due to the fact that West Ham have been under firing, and Lopetegu's job is on the line. So some may say it's too early to be sacked, but I remember De Boer getting sacked after 5 games as Crystal Palace manager many years ago. So it has happened in the past, and it can certainly happen again. Now, on to the team news. With regards to Liverpool, Elliott is still out with a foot injury, so he's not expected to return until the end of October / beginning of November. So he's still quite away from returning to the first team. Alisson remains out of action as he suffered a muscle injury against AC Milan. Not sure what the length of the injury is, but hopefully he returns very soon. And those are the only casualties for the Liverpool squad. For West Ham, Fulkrug is most likely available for selection after returning from a calf injury. The rest of the squad seem to be available, but like Liverpool, I'm expecting some rotations from their manager. So what we can do now, we can predict the lineup for both teams. So what we can start with the home team, and that is Liverpool. So if you're watching live, drop a comment, let me know who you'd like in your starting lineup. For me, it has to be Kelleher. There's no other keeper. Obviously, we probably have Yaros in the back, but I would not put him in this fixture. I don't think necessary. When you've got a number 2 like Kelleher, it's probably best to give him a run of games until Alisson returns. So Kelleher remains in goal. Right back, I'm going for Conor Bradley. I think he deserves a start after some decent cameos this season. In the centre back positions, I'm going for Joe Gomez, who hasn't played much this season, but I feel like this is the type of game where you want to rotate your squad a little bit. And you've got Kwanzaa, who obviously started the season at centre back, got dropped due to a tactical switch, and hasn't been able to return to the lineup. So for me, this is a perfect game for him to get some game time and get some minutes under his belt. And for me, at left back, I'm going to go with Tsimikas, rotate with Robertson. So that's my back 4. Yes, it's probably not a back 4 that's played together this season, but when you're doing these rotational squads or teams, you are going to expect it. So I feel like this is probably on paper our second back line anyway. So it makes sense to play them together. For me, I don't know if it will happen just due to what we've seen so far in this season. I would start with Endo to give him a run out. Whether Arne Slot does remains to be seen, and he doesn't seem to be in favour of the Japanese midfielder. But I think this is a game to utilise him. I think in terms of a tactical point of view, I think he will suit this game where West Ham might be quite physical in the middle of the park. So up against an attacking midfielder in Paqueta, I feel like Endo could do a good job in terms of marking him out and trying to reduce his influence in the game. Alongside him, it's a flip of a coin for me. I will certainly start either Gravenberch or McAllister. I'm going to go for McAllister. I think Gravenberch should probably just get a breather. Just try to, wrap him up in cotton wool and make sure he's ready for the next game, which is against Wolves in the Premier League. So I'd go for McAllister, and then maybe we can rotate McAllister where he doesn't play on the weekend, and then reinstate Gravenberch. We can look at that situation in the next game. But for this fixture, I'm going for a double pivot of Endo and McAllister. They already formed a good partnership last season, so I don't have no worries in terms of how they play together. And against a Premier League opposition, I feel like that adds a bit more stability playing 2 players that formed a good partnership. So that would be my double pivot for this game. On the right, I'm going for Chiesa. I think we're all excited to see the Italian winger start for the club. Arne Slot mentioned it in the press conference that he's not quite ready to play the full 90 minutes, but he is available to start. So I think that was a slight hint that he is expected to play in this game. So for me, he starts on the right wing. And then on the left wing, it has to be Gakpo. Very unlucky not to get a start against Bournemouth over the weekend. But obviously the performance he produced against AC Milan was definitely top notch. So good to have 2 wingers that are playing to the highest of their ability. And, it's good and healthy competition within the squad. For this fixture, I definitely think he deserves to start. In my number 10 role, if Harvey Elliott was around, I definitely would have started him in this fixture. I'm actually going to go for Curtis Jones. I think Szoboszlai needs a bit of a breather. He's played consecutive games. He's looking very exhausted. He's worked his socks off. He's hit the ground running, but he's struggling as well in terms of fitness for me. So a breather will do him good. Some may say, he should probably continue to play to find his rhythm. I feel like when you've got tired legs, you're better just giving him a day off, to say the least, and having rest for a few days and make sure he's ready for the next fixture. So for me, it might be worth rotating him in this cup tie. And then up top, I would have started Darwin Núñez regardless of what he did over the weekend. So in this one, it's even more of a reason to start him in this fixture because he's in good form and he can continue that going forward. So for me, he starts in this fixture. And that is my lineup there. So drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. So what we'll do now, we'll switch over to the West Ham lineup, and then I'll give my prediction there. So for West Ham, I'm expecting rotation, probably not as heavy as what I presented for Liverpool, but nevertheless, they will probably want to switch up a little bit as well. So I think Fabianski will come in between the sticks. Areola didn't have the best of shows against West Ham, where Jackson scored the first goal and it went through his legs. So yeah, slightly embarrassing moment for the keeper, but squad rotation is definitely key in this fixture. Corfal, who's lost his place to new signing Wan-Bissaka, so he'll start in this one. New signing Todibo, who's slowly getting embedded into this West Ham team. So I feel like this would be another game for him to get used to the players around him and form chemistry and partnership with his defenders and other players in the pitch. And I think Max Kilman will remain in the lineup and he'll be starting alongside Todibo. I think Emerson will also stay there as well. You could probably put in Presswell there, but I think Lopetegui might go a little bit stronger than expected. So I think he'll start on the left. In terms of double pivot, I'm going to go for Souček for West Ham. And then alongside him, I'm going to go for the new signing in Carlos Soler. He hasn't played much so far this season, but this would be a good introduction for him to get some minutes under his belt. Obviously, he might be taken off in the second half, but it's a good fixture for him to get accustomed to playing a Premier League opposition. I know we're not in the Premier League, but playing the highest in terms of quality of a side in Liverpool, it will be a good test for him to see how well he does. On the right wing, it has to be Jared Bowen. On the left wing, I don't think that this is his best position, but this is where West Ham are playing him, and that's Kudus. I feel like he's better on the right, and then could even play the number 10, but they have a talented player in Paqueta, who occupy a number 10 role. So that will be the advanced three, and up top, Fulker's just returned from injury, so I don't think they'll rush him. Otherwise, I would have predicted him to have started. I think they'll go for a safer option in Antonio. Where is he? Just saw his. There we go. So so that is the West Ham predicted lineup. Drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. In terms of danger men or players to look out for, Kudus, even though he's not playing on his favorite position, I feel like he's better from the right where he cuts in. He's still going to cause havoc on that flank. So Conor Bradley will need to make sure he's marking him and watching his runs and make sure he's tight on him whenever it's a one-on-one duel, because he has pace to burn. So he will definitely utilize that, and he's got a good cross on him as well. So definitely want to look out for. Paqueta, even last year when we beat them 5-1, I think he's probably one of the best players on the pitch. That's how much of a talented player he is. So he's one that will definitely pull the strings for the West Ham team. So we need to make sure we keep him quiet. Bowen is definitely lethal on that counter-attack. So if he gets space and he's charging down that right wing, we definitely need to make sure that we're able to stop him. And he's actually really improved his finishing. And last year he was very prolific. I know he played more of a central role, but even from the right wing, he's definitely added goals to his tally. So he's another danger man for me. And that's probably the three players that I will look at. The rest of the players from the midfield and the defense, they're going to be very defensive focused. They're going to shut up shop. And yeah, Antonio, not too concerned with him. If full crew comes on, he's more of an impact player. So that would be a concern where you have to be wary because he's more like a fox in the box type of striker. But look, this will not be an easy tie. I know West Ham aren't in the best of form right now. They've got some quality players in terms of the bench. They've got Somerville who could come on and definitely have an impression onto the team. You've got Guilherme, the Brazilian winger. He can come on and do things as well. So there's definitely got options off the bench that can change the game. So it's not going to be an easy feat. So yeah, let's see what happens in this fixture. Before we wrap up and before I give you my score prediction, I will go through the comments. So big up Richard says, "Hi, how are you? Many thanks. You never walk along." Big up Richard as always. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for tuning in. And he's presented his lineup. So he's actually gone for Yaros in goal, Bradley, Kwanzaa, Gomez, Simicast, Endo, Jones, Szoboszlai. So he's actually gone for Szoboszlai and he's gone for a double pivot Endo and Jones, which is interesting. Then he's gone for Chiesa, Nunes, and Gakpo. So I think the front three will probably be universally appreciated because I think most of us would predict that front line anyway. But no, big up to yourself. That's not a bad team to be fair. I can definitely see the reasons why you've added the players in the starting 11. But yeah, remains to be seen. And he also said like, comment, share, and subscribe. Big up Richard as always. Amirali, big up to him. He said, "Do you think Chiesa will make an impact?" In this game, I feel like it's more about him getting onto the pitch and getting some minutes under his belt. He hasn't really played much preseason football, and that's with his previous club in Juventus. So I think it would take him a bit of time to get into that rhythm. And yeah, I think for us, it's more so of an introduction for him to get used to playing with his teammates and getting accustomed to the pace of playing English football. So I'm expecting him to have an impact, but not an instant impact in this game. For me, it's going to be more of a gradual process. And once he's got some minutes under his belt, he'll definitely have an impact in the team. But in this game, for me, it's just give him the minutes, see what he does, and he might surprise some fans. Me personally, I know what he's capable of, so I'm very excited and looking forward to seeing his debut tomorrow, hopefully. And you also comment saying same thing with Eddie Howe and Paul Mitchell. They're falling apart and don't share the same vision. That is very true. That's a good comparison there because I think it was Dan Ashworth and Eddie Howe. They had a good relationship and that seemed to work. Paul Mitchell has probably a different philosophy altogether. He had his time at Tottenham and Monaco, where I feel like he probably called the shots more so than ever. And Newcastle, it's a different level where the expectations are a bit higher. With the financing. Obviously, they can't spend big due to FFP, but the expectations are definitely different at the club. And then, yeah, it just seems like there's a bit of a power struggle. Maybe Eddie Howe isn't used to that kind of structure. But having said that, I feel like he's worked under other sporting directors, so it might just be a clash of personalities, or they just don't agree with the sporting targets that they've written up, or just don't share the same football philosophy. It's as simple as that. So that's an issue from the club because that is something you have to align in a very strategic way. You don't just get a random sporting director and hope that the manager will bode well with him. I think the manager probably should have been a part of that discussion when that appointment happened, but Newcastle doing their own thing, so it is what it is with regards to that. Kelleher, Simicast. Also, so this is Amirali's lineup. So he's gone for Kelleher, Simicast, Joe Gomez, Constance, Bradley, Jones, Endo, Morton. Interesting to see Morton in the starting lineup. Chiesa, Nunes, and Gakpo. And then Amirali says Mikasa hasn't posted Instagram match day yet, so I think he's not going to be in the squad. Let's see. I don't know. I think I've even heard rumors that Nunes didn't train today, so we can speculate in terms of what's going on with the squad, but hopefully we'll get a bit more clarification in the next 24 hours, hopefully. Well, less than that. And I also said, what do you think of Gravenberch and Diaz's performances? I think they've been spectacular to this season. Gravenberch, I'm personally very pleased in terms of how he's performed because I've always known he's had that potential. I've watched him for Ajax, and I always felt like he has a very high ceiling to achieve. He went to Bayern Munich, probably wasn't the best fit in terms of playing style, but also the manager was Thomas Tuchel at the time, so maybe there was a clash there as well. So he wasn't favoured. He didn't get much game time, if any, to be honest with you. So that put him a couple of steps behind. And obviously last year for Liverpool, it was more of an adaptation to a period where he needed to get used to the speed of the game, but also find his form once again because he had been inactive for about 12 months. So this was the season where I felt like he would definitely make an impact. He'll have a Dutch coach who will have the same principles as Gravenberch, who's come through the ranks in Netherlands. So far, so good. He looks unbelievable in that double pivot. I always feel like that was his best position, if I'm being honest. I know with Jurgen Klopp, we played a 4-3-3 and he played as a number 8. He can do that role, but I always feel like with that role, you've got to be a different type of player. You've got to be a bit more attack minded in occasions, but also you've got to be more of a ball carrier. He is a good ball carrier, but I feel like his profile is more of being a player that's strong on the ball, great on the half turn, and then can play the ball forward with the whole pitch in front of him. When you're a number 8, you're roaming around the pitch quite a bit, so you're not really able to have everything in front of you in that manner. When you're playing in a number 6 role or a double pivot role, you've got the whole pitch in front of you where you can do what you need to do. You can set the tempo, spread the passes around. You can literally dictate the play. So I feel like it suits his skill set to the T, and he's, for me, doing a fantastic job. And long may it continue. Really, really impressed with his season so far. And Luis Diaz as well, a player that I felt like, for me, and I've always been honest with my feedback with regards to the players. For me, he just needed to improve his ratio of goals and assists, and so far he's done it. The other parts of his game I never questioned because I feel like he's always shown a great attitude whenever he's played. Very hard-working player, very attack-minded, has this ability to go past players with complete ease, which is a joy to watch. Uh, for me, it's just a shame that a lot of fans wanted him out and wanted Anthony Gordon in. I still can't get my head around that, if I'm being brutally honest. We're in September. I'm still finding it a bit bemusing. But for me, it's fantastic that he's stayed at the club because there was a lot of speculation that he could leave. And he's really hit the ground running this season. So, likewise with Gravenberch, long may it continue for Luis Diaz as well. 5 goals already this season. What a start for the Colombian wingers. So, yeah, very, very impressed with both of their performances so far. And even in general, the team, I feel like we've been defensively really good as well. So it's been definitely an adaptation period for some fans because we're not playing heavy metal football. But at the end of the day, I'm very pleased with the new style of play. I'm intrigued from a tactical point of view how we're going to set up going forward. I like this sort of calm and composed way of playing because we haven't really changed much from an attacking point of view, but more defensively, we're a bit more composed and a bit more calm on the ball. Whereas under Jurgen Klopp, we're probably just trying to ping the ball as fast as we can. It ends up being like a pinball effect where we're just going back and forth. So for me, no, it's refreshing to see a different style of play uh, in this new era. So yeah, let's see what the future holds. Hopefully, we get plenty of success this season. And then your other comment is, yes, Gordon's not it for me. He's been underwhelming so far. Look, he's a decent player, but for me, he just wasn't the right standard to replace Diaz if he had left. If Luis Diaz had left, Gordon would not have been on my top of my list. Definitely not. So yeah, some fans really wanted that signing to happen. I think due to his affiliation with the club being a boyhood red, obviously being a Scouser from Liverpool. So I don't know. I didn't see it from a football point of view. I just didn't see it, to be honest with you. So yeah, it remains to be seen what happens with Anthony Gordon in the future. But right now, it's all about Luis Diaz. He's the man of the hour, and he's definitely doing his thing. Amiralia has also asked, crazy shout, but I would take Gay as a centre back next summer for Liverpool. Need a need a Palace relegation discount. He's improved in the air and is third behind Konate and Verge in terms of aerial duels. And his follow-up comment is that he's been a bright spark at Palace despite their struggles. He's definitely a decent player. I just don't know if he's the guy that I want. And I'm only saying that because of the transfer fee involved in order to secure his services, because Palace were after 70 plus million for him in the summer. Newcastle had about 4 or 5 bids rejected, and they kept on increasing it with more add-ons and all that stuff. Didn't satisfy Newcastle. Didn't satisfy Crystal Palace whatsoever. So for that kind of price, listen, I'd rather us pay for a player like Bastoni for about 70 million rather than go for Gay, because there's levels to this, in my opinion. So in terms of the player and profile, he'll definitely fit our style of play. He'll definitely be a player that can help us be a bit more tactical in terms of setting up as a back three or back four requires. So I think he'll definitely play a part in that formation. I don't think he's a left back, because the profile that I wanted the club to look at was a player that could comfortably play left back and centre back. So the player that I really wanted was Calafiori. He's gone to Arsenal and he's currently playing left back. But he's a centre back as well by trade, which we all saw in the Euros for Italy. So it'll be interesting, but the fee is too high for me. And I don't think he's that good of a player to pay 70 odd million pounds for. So remember, we paid 60, 65 million for Virgil van Dijk. I know it's different times, but context still needs to be taken into consideration. So yeah, I think that transfer fee is way too inflated. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you to Richard and Amirali for your comments. Appreciate your engagement and support as always. In terms of upcoming content, I will be doing a live watch along tomorrow. The game takes place at 8 p.m. UK time, so I will be live from 7:50 p.m. So make sure to tune in. And then we'll also have a match reaction show, possibly at 11 p.m. After the game. So yeah, it's a calling show. So if you'd like to come on and have your say, a link will be pinned in the live chat. So feel free to come on, express yourself, whether it's a win or a loss. Hopefully it's not a loss. That's not something that we're aiming for. But you have a platform to express your views. And yeah, if you've got questions to ask me as well, feel free to drop them as well. So that is the next show, and that is the end of the show right now. Thank you again for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.